Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Dodger here. Welcome back to the Mindcrack server. This is episode number 74 here on the Mindcrack server. 74 days of progress and discussion and endless amounts of rambling. It's also Wednesday, my dudes, and I'm going to continue progress on the new boathouse hallway. Boathouse stairway? Boathouse stairway. But there's something that's in my way, and it is this, the concrete mixing station, which is a little bit of a problem, because I want to use a lot of concrete in this build. But the main problem is, I got this layer of stone right here, and it's real close to my noggin. Very close. And honestly, the solution to that would be, well, I could just remove that layer of stone. However, if I were to do that, I think I would remove it all the way back to this layer. And if I do that, I'm a little worried about the structural roll. I am an intelligent human being. I'm a little worried about the structural integrity of this concrete mixing station should I do that. So, when I knock these two back, we got a problem. The floor is open, and we can no longer mix our concrete, basically, because the powder... Do I have any on me? No, but the powder acts like sand, and it would just fall down. So that would be no good. That would be no good at all. So I think the solution to that would be to use a half slab right here, which isn't a big deal. I'm trying to think of... I guess that was happening in the backyard. Where is that happening? I'm genuinely curious. I don't think it died yet. Have our bow ready. Is he on the roof? Was he just outside? Oh yeah, he was on the roof. Okay. Okay. Biscuit, you are you keeping guard back here? Did you kill that skeleton? Huh? Yeah, we'll pretend you did. You're doing just fine, Biscuit. Doing just fine. What was I saying? I know I was thinking about something. I was getting ready to make some kind of point or something. Oh right, the floor here. Yeah, I think if we were to use a brick half slab right there, that would probably solve that problem just fine. However, it still doesn't look that structural, and I know there's going to be problems in the future, because I know the design I want on the top, and I know that this block is going to be an issue in the future, but I'm going to leave that problem for future cone. I got to decide if that looks strong enough. I don't know how much I like this being just hanging there. And is this going to be a headroom issue? You know, it's not a headroom issue, but it's also maybe not as strong an appearance as I would have hoped. And what would... Do I have any walls on me? I do, actually. What would a wall be height-wise right here? Is that a headroom restriction? You kind of bop your head up against it there. It's hard to tell, I know, because as you're walking downstairs or upstairs, you kind of do bounce a little bit. You know, it really doesn't seem like I hit it too much. But if I'm going to do that, I think what I want to do is actually make it look like it's tied into some more structure, like that. Oh, you know what might look better? Hold on. Oh, whoops, whoops, whoops. I'm breaking things. Breaking everything. Hold on. Alright, we're back. Wouldn't... well, let me look. What if instead I did... Oh, yeah, leave the concrete there. Would the walls connect to that? Or, sorry, the iron bars? No, they don't connect. I was thinking maybe the iron bars would look a little bit more like it was intentional structure rather than the wall. And it does. It does actually look like a little bit more of an intentional design, an intentional structure. Unfortunately, the server is being real bad again. So it seems like going to 1.13.2 wasn't the solution to our problems. It seems like the server just needs to be put on some kind of restart timer. Maybe every other day or something. Okay, that's mildly a solution to that problem. I might have to address that in the future, though. I think there might be a little bit more to it. Oh, yeah, servers. Servers being a little funny still. I need to make some new concrete. Let's do half a stack of both of these, and I don't know, that should be funny. We want to make some red concrete, which is a new color we haven't used before. I don't honestly even know what it looks like, but in my mind, it's the right choice. Is that a weird way to make it? Probably. Hey, that gave me a stack. Okay, I know how that works. Half a stack of each would give you a stack of the combination. All right, let's mix some of this up. It looks real pink as powder, doesn't it? It just looks a little pale, a little bit pink. Hopefully it looks a little bit more red once you set it. Oh yeah, it gets much deeper once you set it. Alright, so I'm gonna mix up maybe oh, the block pop back today is real. I'm gonna mix up maybe let's do maybe half of this. Come on, please. Server, please. Whew. Okay, everything's fine. Don't you worry about it. Mindcrack is still alive and well, and I believe in our father and savior of Mindcrack, Michael. He's got to get this all figured out. Something has happened over the course of the last couple weeks. Like it didn't used to be this bad, and I can't really think of anything that's changed. Like there's not any new farms or anything like that going on. So I don't know what exactly has changed that all of a sudden we got all this lag. There's too many people, I guess. There's just too many people playing on the server. It's just me. I'm the only one that plays before like 6 p.m. I seem to be the only person that's ever on here during the day. This might actually be enough, so I might call it there and start placing these. I only want to do one. Come on. One row of these. That gives me 40. Let's see if that's enough. Doesn't look like it's gonna be. So I want to do one. Oh, look. Oh, I was gonna say look at that skilled placement, but I ruined it. Ruined. How much did that take? I had 40, I have 11 left, so yes, I will need more. I'm sorry that math was taking me time to do. That's very embarrassing, but that's me. That's my brain. You know, I could just place the powder on here and run water down there, but that's cheating. We can't cheat. Can't have any of that. All right, let's finish these off now. And whoop, a little bit of a topic of discussion for today on the I'm a couple short on the old serious side of things. I guess I should just went ahead and did all these because we're going to now. Not really serious per se, and I'm not going to go into anything like American politics because I know that might be something you might expect me to maybe cover in a series like this, but honestly, there's better places for you to get information on such things, and honestly, I just don't feel like I am certainly not knowledgeable enough and just not studied enough. It's not as though I am ever like scared of politics as a topic. It's not something that I think people should be scared of. And the fact that we are scared of talking about politics is probably a sign, if anything, of our own ignorance on the topic more than anything. Wow, I'm starting a political talk about politics without talking about politics? Anyway, yeah, it's just the reason that things get uncomfortable and the reason that people, I think, don't want to talk about it or don't like it when people do talk about politics is mostly because of ignorance, essentially, and maybe overstepping our own knowledge base for the effect of having conversation or for the effect of being heard. It's just one of those things that is so important in our modern society, and it's something that is so universally known to be a controversial topic or just a common, debate platform, that it just kind of becomes the default. It becomes the thing to do to have a conversation. Unfortunately, that doesn't always coincide with having a, real strong knowledge base or strong platform or, strong, as we do here, strong foundations. Minecraft jokes. Yeah, that's kind of what I feel about that. Instead, I like to think about kind of just our effects of society and my own personal observations of just kind of mankind and how we interact together and things of that nature. That's the stuff that's of particular interest to me and stuff that I like to discuss. I get a big kick out of, I've noticed with myself and Brian, and sometimes with myself and Ryusuke, we seem to have common conversations just about the okay, server. the different trends or patterns or intricacies of people's interactions with each other across the internet and in our media, in our group of streamers or content creators or whatever. It's an interesting thing to talk about because it's very much so new, it's developing, and it's kind of just ever-changing in front of our eyes, That's something that's literally developing in our lifetime, is all of these new interactions and ways to interact with each other and the way that it, affects people and the way that people end up interacting with each other. It's all just very different, and it's interesting to compare our different observations. So what is it? What is it that I'm trying to go on about here? What am I trying to bring up? I think the main topic that I have on my mind... Did I not grab the ink sacks? I did not. The main topic that I have on my mind has to do with generations. Server. It has to do with the effect and the interaction amongst generations. Because that's something that seems to be pretty prominent these days. Is I see a lot of talk about, just different generations of people, and I think something that I've noticed since I was a kid, since I was in grade school, this is something that I've noticed and picked up on, is how generations interact with each other seems to be very cause and effect. It always seems to be a blame game, kind of, or I don't know. It's always a protagonist antagonist kind of situation. There's a good way to put it, and that I'm a child of the 80s. I was born in 87. What generation I even am is of debate. But even as a kid, I can remember observing, the adults that at that point would look back at their previous generations, like their parents' generations, as a problem, and then the older generation would look at, my parents' generation and such as a problem, and it always just seems like it's that effect. It's always that different generations seem to be a hindrance to each other. And I guess, oops, I just knocked out the floor. Knew I would do it eventually. Here, I got an extra stone on me though. Oop. But yeah, that always tends to be the case. The current one, the one I can comment most on, and this is kind of to the effect of what I was talking about earlier, is you know, if you're gonna have a conversation or a discussion about something, make it something that you actually have experience with or you're actually knowledgeable of. I'm pretty aware of and pretty knowledgeable of the effects of like Gen Y and Gen X and the millennials. That seems to be, generally it seems like Generation Y versus millennials is the current debate. There are many other generations, and there are other generations that are still alive and prominent in society. And I don't fully understand where the generations thing came from. I don't understand how it came to be that we divide our timelines into generations. So it seems like to me that the generations seem to shift on that kind of 18-year-ish basis. Whereas in my mind, it's more like a 4-ish year basis because say you're in high school, say you are 14. The age of people that you are going to interact with and the age of the parents of you and your general, you know, peers around you are all going to be within, I would say, somewhere in a 4 to 6 year range. Especially the kids around you. You're only going to interact with kids that are essentially near you in age. So you might still talk to someone that's 11. You might talk to somebody that's 18. But in general, I think it's going to be more like that kind of 12 to 16 range. It's just a narrower window in my mind. But that's just in general not how we as societies seem to label generations. That's just not how it works. And I honestly don't fully know why or how this all started, who coined this, or where this all snowballed from. That's actually honestly kind of irrelevant to the topic that I'm trying to get to. Is it necessary? I'm not really sure that it is, because much like any label, it's pretty inaccurate. To say that an entire generation of people are the same is pretty ridiculous. And that's probably not what people are saying when they say millennial. Oh, all millennials, they're the same. They're basically the same people, and this is their attributes. That's pretty wildly different, because I find myself to be pretty wildly different than a lot of people of my similar age group. And as part of that, I never really had a lot of friends similar age to me. I always tended to befriend people older than me, which I think is why mentally I usually put myself amongst a different generation than I think society usually would. However, as I get older and as I grow, you know, more experienced and more... Hello, server. Server. Hello, server. Thank you. And you know, as I have more experiences and I you know, gather more information about life, that kind of, I think, has shifted, and I start to feel a little bit more connected to my general age group. However, I still don't know that it fits. Like, I don't know that I consider myself to be very alike many of the people that I know in my age group. However, it doesn't stop the fact that, in general, I get grouped into the millennial, quote-unquote, generation, and in that, I then have to, and am forced to, kind of deal with and accept the qualifications that society decides to give people of a generation. That's where things get weird for me, because... Oh, is there no sand over here? I was really hoping there was some sand left. Oh, there's lots of sand. Never mind. Sand for days. I'm gonna take some. Thanks. Yoink. Darn millennials always taking things. That's the kind of meme culture that surrounds this thing these days, and that's not new. That is totally not new. The term meme might be new, but the jokes surrounding the general tendencies of a generation, that's something that like I said, I've observed and I've noted for my entire life. That is nothing new. But it's super annoying. I really dislike that attribute of our society. I don't understand why we feel the need to shift blame and to use generations as a blame tool for anything. If anything goes wrong with a certain age groups or just a certain person, certain person's life, or the way things are going for them, it seems like it's always a really easy scapegoat to go for. Well, it's all because the other generation's doing this thing that's different than how our generation did it, and it's making things harder for us. That's the usual argument that I see. That's the usual way that discussion goes. And the really baffling part is that's usually there's two different reasons that I can see why that would happen. Either that generation was, generally raised to be that way, or society has changed enough that that generation grew up thinking and knowing different than the previous. Just think of the internet generation versus the pre-internet generation. There is going to be a huge divide in the way that people grew up if you compare people that grew up without the internet versus people that grew up with the internet. And you could probably even add to that people that grew up with social media versus people that didn't grow up with social media. There's naturally, I feel, just due to the way, people grow and learn and grow up, there's just naturally going to be a difference in the way that people think. I just don't know that it has to necessarily be a bad thing. And I don't know that it necessarily has to be that older generations have to adapt to the new ones, or that newer generations have to accept or adapt to the old ones. That I'm not asking for that. That's asking too much, I think. I don't think I don't think human nature is going to allow that to happen. I'm not dreaming here. I wish it could be that way. Yeah, I wish it could be that way. But I don't think it's going to happen. But what I'm trying to do, and what I'm trying to, honestly, I'm trying to force myself to do, is to try at least personally break the cycle a little bit, and try to accept and adapt to, because now that I am 30, about to be 32. That means that I am essentially a generation separated from the 18-year-olds. That's where I am at life. I'm getting there. 36 would be the official point. I think that's the official point. But at 32, I feel like I'm really starting to notice and observe core fundamental differences in how I think about things and how people that are in high school now think about things. And really, what I'm trying to get at, and what this all meant, and I'm sure it was broken up to get here, really, what I'm trying to do is not resist the way that they think, and just saying the word "they" in that has weight. It sounds derogatory, but it shouldn't, because that's honestly how it is. That's the way it was when I was 16 and 18. I thought about things differently than people that were 32 to 36, and even more differently to people that were 56 to 64, somewhere in that range. And these are just vague, estimates, and not everybody is the same. In the same way that I don't feel like I am exactly the same as every, person of my generation. the same applies for everybody else, but if we're going to accept generations as a real thing, then yeah, that's how we're going to define this conversation. So what I'm trying to do is not just lament new generations of kids or people, or now new, adults, in the way that they think. I'm trying to instead kind of study on and figure out and decipher where the shift came from. What was it that made those differences come to be? And if I understand why, then I'll better accept and better and better understand that attribute now. I'm not going to go really into any specifics there, like, oops. Whoops, oops. Let's see here. I fixed. Yeah, I'm not going to go into any specifics on particular details of, say, millennials or any details of whatever generation will be after that, because that's not the topic. And if I start to talk about specifics, everybody's conversation is going to be about the specifics and not the general, which is what I want. But yeah, if we all, or I mean, if I wish we could all, but I know that's not going to happen. But if I can better understand why people are thinking the way that they think now, then I feel I'll be more prepared to see things from their point of view in the future, and I'm hoping that's going to make me feel less hostile towards them, because that's the effect that I see now, and that's kind of the effect of this generational thing that makes me sad and uncomfortable, is the hostility. The fact that older generations now look at my generation and they're hostile towards them, or they are derogatory or disgruntled, or just generally don't they wish they weren't the way that they were. That makes me sad, and it makes me, I already don't feel like I am part of society, and I don't feel like I fit in and want to be part of society. So if I do that to the next generation, that's only going to make it worse. And it's just a tool that I'm using to try and make myself, I guess, feel a little bit better about trying to make the world a better place in the future for as little impact as I actually have. Because that's another big part of it, is my own personal impact is small. And that's just something that I think everybody has to come to grips with time, is realizing how small your individual impact is in the world, but that small impact is still important, which is, also a pretty good description, and I don't want to say argument, but pretty good description of why the whole voting thing is also important. Why you might think one vote doesn't matter, but it really should, because if you think that it's gonna be a bold statement, I'm sorry. If you think that anything that you do in life matters to any huge degree, I'm sorry, you're wrong. Your one life does not really have that much impact on the greater world. But that doesn't mean you can't try, and it doesn't mean that you can't make an impact in the small world that could snowball into making a bigger effect in the grand scheme of things. So that's something that I've come to a conclusion of lately, is that I want to try and have myself prepared for future generations thinking differently than I do, and I want to be knowledgeable enough on why they think differently. I don't want to just be ignorant to the differences and just blame them for it, and blame blame their differences on why things maybe aren't the way I would like them to be. Pretty bold topic, I know. But it's something that has really, really been heavy on the brain here lately. And with that, and with the topic of, you know, kind of accepting differences, we do dive back a little bit into the political side here, because this is an observation I have of my peers, what very little friends I have left, and just, you know, general people around me, and that is the hostility to do with anything political. The disappointing part for me is seeing people hate each other for each other's beliefs. I've never personally been that way. I've never personally... I don't know how to make redstone lamps. I've never been a person that... Oh, there it goes. Okay, that is right. I've never been a person to judge a person based upon their beliefs in something. Whether that is religion, whether that is politics, no matter what it is. Now, that being said, I still think it's totally fair and totally acceptable to hate what somebody believes in. If somebody has a particular belief or mindset about something, I think it's completely fair to say, I really hate that you think that way. However, for me, I'm still able to see beyond that and see the whole person. And I don't think that's the common way anymore. I really don't think that is common. It seems like it's become more the case of if a person has a certain belief, thinks a certain way, say a person has a particular political belief and they actively, you know, express that they believe in that particular way, I see the hate being directed towards the person rather than the belief. And I think part of the reason that I think the way that I do, which is that you know, I'm pretty much accepting of people having completely different beliefs to mine, is the fact that I have grown up in an area where pretty much everybody has different beliefs than me. Whether it be religion, whether it be politics, whether it be morals, whatever. Very, very, very few people that I have ever interacted with in my life, in real life, have had similar beliefs or, you know, ways of life about them. The effect of that is, I think I've grown a pretty good ability to... Oh, wow. I didn't think I would use all my redstone. Oh, there's another stack randomly. I think it's helped me develop an ability to pretty effectively look around that and see that there's a person beyond that. I can't write off a person because of one or even many particular beliefs that they have. Because the person beyond that particular belief could still be a great person, or just be a great person for me to interact with. I can be disappointed. I can be disappointed that they think that way. But unless they're actually, you know, intentionally and knowingly causing people harm, I really feel like it's my responsibility to be able to look beyond that. I did not need that many redstone torches. I wish I hadn't done that. You know, and if I did think that way, if I was, you know, totally unwilling to... Oh, I don't know how redstone works. You're gonna find that out real soon here. I think I need some touch of these. Do I? Let me try not. Nope, you don't. Okay. Yeah, if I was, you know, steadfast on those on those beliefs of I will not and cannot interact with a person unless they, have every single belief the same as mine, or maybe even just particular ones that I'm particularly passionate about, then I would have nobody. I would literally have nobody. And I think that's actually a good thing. I'm actually happy for that, because it does give me the ability to look beyond, certain issues and see the person beyond that. And all I can do is hope that maybe someday they'll see differently. I also don't think it's my job or it's my responsibility to change that particular part of them. Just because they are a friend of mine and they don't necessarily see the same way as me. Now, I'm going to really love discussing that with them, and I'm going to, of course, try to explain to them why I see things the way that I do, but it's not a barrier of entry for me as far as accepting them as people. And I see that so much where people are just completely discrediting and not accepting people in society for singular issues like that. They're taking every issue as a definition of a person, and that's not a healthy way to have society. I don't feel it's not healthy for me, and it would have been really unhealthy for me because I would have literally had nobody. There would be nobody in my local life / friend sphere that ever I got along with. And because of that, and because I feel like people are, kind of living that way, I just see this, at least in my area, in my personal part of the world, I see this divide forming where people are completely writing each other off and unable to even, hold conversation or share this space on Earth together anymore, because they just can't accept anybody else's differences anymore. They can't accept that policy and people's individual, beliefs on policy and things like that may not define an entire person. Policy and politics and, beliefs have become stronger and more important than interaction. It's very rough. It's very hard to deal with that, I think, as a society, and it's not good for us. It's not very healthy. And I'm very curious to see how that develops in my lifetime. I'm really interested to see how that all goes. So hopefully I can stick around long enough to see how that develops, and hopefully it doesn't continue to develop in a negative enough way that it becomes like really, really bad. Because, I don't know, it's potential. It could happen. It could actually, get, quote-unquote, that bad. That we just simply stop interacting with each other and stop being able to behave as a society. I could definitely see that happening. It's like really, really a terrible outcome of it, and I don't think that will happen. Something will change. Something will shift us back, I believe. Hopefully. I hope. Was this a serious enough topic? I warned you. I warned you when this series started that topics may get very serious and pretty crazy and in-depth here. This ain't no normal Minecraft Let's Play. Okay? How about what we did? Alright, so I think I like this. I'm debating if I left the concrete up one, because I could potentially move the lamps up one if I want to. Does this feel too cramped having them here? Let me explain to you why they're there, though. I do need some more, but let me show you why they're there, and maybe it'll make more sense. Because what I want is for the face of every one of these to have a sign with a name here on it. So every one of these is going to have a sign with a name on it, or a sign with a name here and a date here. Yeah, probably do that to make it more symmetrical. I think that might be good. I don't think our head hits it. And it makes it so that you can read the signs pretty well. Alright, well, I'll decide that before Friday's episode. I'll be very curious to read the comments of this video, because I'm sure I have opened a whole can of worms. I'm very curious to hear me record this episode, because I gotta go edit this now. I'm very curious to hear what I actually said, because I just let my brain fully go there. I rarely do that, but today I decided, you know what I need? I need to let my brain just go completely off the rails, unchecked, and let it speak. And that's what we had. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you're still with me. Hope you haven't completely written me off as insane. And yeah, I'll see you all on Friday. Oh, by the way, I totally forgot to mention this on Monday, and I apologize. For the time being, while we don't have any actual building projects, we don't have any dangerous projects going on, I'm going to pause the Kosha initiative. Thank you to everybody that donated and joined in with the Kosha initiative while it was active. But what we're doing right now isn't particularly dangerous in any way, and it just doesn't seem very fun for what we're doing. But don't you worry, I got more projects in the future that do bring in more danger, and we'll need Kosha to be looking over our shoulder for. Alright, and with that, goodbye, have a great day, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.